All right, let's talk drugs, everybody. So
Yeah.
the PDGA recently announced with short notice a new drug testing policy that will go into place at Worlds in a month. If you didn't see this is basically they were giving what looked like some kind of warning to all players that anybody could be tested and that cannabis is on that banned substance list. So what is your opinion on this entire situation and your best theory as to why it's happened so suddenly and who is really behind this? Who stands to gain or lose from something like this? Dustin.
Yeah, this is a weird one. I don't know if I really have the right take on this. So I'm going to try. I will say this, like, why is the PDGA just finding out about this now? I don't know if it's incompetence on their part or if it's the host is to blame for not relaying the information. Like, you feel like the PDGA should have control over it, and so they should have more information, but the fact that they didn't is really weird. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I will say at the very least, at least they did give people technically enough notice to get out of something if they were doing something with the 33 days notice. And that's adequate at least for the whole Cannaboy thing. But outside of that, I'm not really sure. Now, as far as why is this happening, I actually couldn't really figure it out. Apparently, from what I understand, this has been something that could happen with WIFDIF in the past because they do adhere to WADA guidelines. So, but it just never really came up. And then I know the Finnish Disc Golf Association is technically a member of the Finnish Olympic Committee. And if that's the case, obviously WADA really does dictate the Olympics. And so with this being the first Worlds in Europe and underneath this Finnish Disc Golf Association, I do wonder, like, if they are trying to make a play at the Olympics long term and getting in line with Olympic standards, if that had something to do with it. But what's really weird about all what I just said is if that's the case, why did we never hear about this at the European Open in Finland ever? Like, I don't know if it was there and it just never got brought up, or it's really a mystery for me. Now, as far as like just going forward with drug testing, look, I do think this makes sense. Like, you know, having water, having anti-PED measures is a big part of many sports. It adds a layer of legitimacy and fair play. And I do think disc golf one day is going to get to that point where that probably does make a lot of sense. I think getting in line with WADA brings it in line with Olympic standards, which is kind of the standard to be in. And we've had a push for drug testing from at least some people since like 2020. So maybe we're just kind of going that route. But also, I think there is a chance that this is just a secret plot that Gannonberg, the most innocent person of all time, who has probably never touched a drug in his life, is like, let me go ahead and give myself one additional edge to win my first Worlds. I keep winning the other majors. I'm dominating, but I need that World. So all you guys out there who are doing stuff that I'm not, you're done.
Yeah, it could be big for Gannonberg, most certainly. Yeah, I mean, what you said just seems like where we're all at. Hunter, have you gotten any other kind of grasp on this?
No, I don't freaking know, man. I've tried. This feels like
crazy.
One of those situations where it happens a lot in the government, right? Or in life in general, where you see something happening, you're watching it happening, and you're like, I know someone's behind the scenes, pulling puppet strings, making this thing happen, but I'm not privy to the knowledge as to who, what, where, when, or why. Right? Like this makes no sense to me. I saw one theory out there that maybe this was a ploy to get Natalie Ryan tested. Natalie Ryan's not playing the event, so that's out the window. That one I was at least like, oh, okay, maybe there's some legs to that. The thing for me that I think really this boils down to is no matter what's going on or who's at stake or what the frick's going on, why is the PDGA finding out about this 33 days out from the World Championships? This is the real problem of this whole thing, is how do the PDGA not have full and total control over the biggest tournament in our sport? To the point that they can't even figure this out 60 days in advance. Maybe it's a play from the PDGA that they didn't know this was going to happen for so long, and they waited into the window to make sure they got everyone they wanted to get. But then for what? Get them for what? Find them in Finland and send them back over here where they can play? Like, that doesn't even make sense. None of it makes any sense to me. I don't understand what's going on. I think what's the only thing that all connects the dots, that all makes sense to me, is that some organization, maybe a big sponsor, someone in Finland wants drug testing implemented. The Finnish organizers said, we can't have this tournament here unless this is in play. The PDGA finds out about this 40 days out from the event, spends a week trying to figure out what the heck to do, and it's like, we can't do anything. The best thing we can do is if we send an email out to all these players, tell them if you're smoking weed in the next 30 days, sorry, you might get fined, and just clear our hands and make sure everyone knows that we're not the ones that made this decision in the classic PDGA move. So I have no idea what's going on. I can't find an angle that anyone's getting an advantage on this. So
It's a head scratcher. I honestly, I wrote in this question. I was like, by the time we get to the show, it'll be one of those things where everybody found the article that explains this all, and you guys are going to both have the correct take. I'm mind blown that even with digging, there's just nothing there. All we have is the PDGA, warning is literally what it looks like. And it obviously seems like and this is classic PDGA verbiage, but it seems like hey, this isn't our fault, but just a heads up, guys, be careful out there. It was like they're basically shouting, get off the weed, as Stephen A. Smith once said. So I don't know what's going on. Is it somebody, you feel like it has to be somebody tied to the region they're playing in, like Connor was saying, it feels like it would have to be, but then
happen at the European Open.
Why are we having a major the next weekend? That's the big kicker. Why are there two majors there and only one's having this standard? It's very weird, very weird. And if the dust settles, I'm going to be so shocked if the dust settles here and it's a non-issue for any player. If it doesn't, something has to blow up out of this, and we're all just going to be waiting to see what happens. And when is the drug testing going to happen? We need whistleblowers that are going to tell us when the testing is going on so we can be ready.
I just pieced together another conspiracy theory.
Okay.
So there was a comment section, or there was a comment on the Coffee Break podcast I do that was talking about how long cannabinoids, as they like to say, stay in your system is directly related to your body fat percentage. So they said their example was Ezra Aderhold could smoke a joint on Friday and then piss in a cup on Tuesday, and no one would ever know. But another player who they listed a player, but I'm not going to fat shame anyone. Another player, could have smoked a joint back in January and still not pass their test. So maybe this is actually a get healthy
thing.
This is a get healthy ploy from the PDGA.
It's a health initiative.
They were looking at it like, hey, we can't get big sponsors because not enough disc golfers look like athletes. We want everyone to look like Ezra Aderhold out there. That's the play. Maybe, I don't know.
That's why you should be roiding them all up instead of doing PED testing. We're going the wrong way.
Okay, I'm back out on that. It had some legs.